Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Makeover Monday. Excited for I had the best Makeover Monday. I didn't realize how good it was going to be, and I had the best makeover, which was exclusively listen to transcendental things on my downtime. Did I do 100%? Did I make it? Did I do the cleanse perfectly? No, I didn't. Really? By mistake, I sat down next to my wife and she was watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, old version. Totally forgot. Watched a half hour of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, I screwed up.
You know what, Rogan? And I sent you a video clip, and then after I sent it, hold it. I'm just screwing him up right now. I sent him that video clip.
Yeah, you did. I didn't look at it.
Oh, okay, good.
But I did break it a little. What I realized is there's lots of downtime. There's lots of downtime for the mind. But I'm going to do it again. I'm doing it again starting today. And me and Mara and Vegan Trucker are going on a cleanse.
What kind of cleanse?
Sort of a juice fast.
For the week? For how long?
I don't know. Maybe you should do it the whole week for Makeover Monday, Mara. We'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk
We're
and
gonna
we
talk.
announce it tomorrow.
Okay, Mary, yeah, we'll talk about it offline.
You should have thought this one out before Makeover Monday. But I got to do something. I think I'm just getting older and out of shape, and the quarantine has not been good for my health. I feel like.
Really? You haven't been out in nature running around?
I don't know what it is. Anyway, today's Makeover Monday, and we highly recommend you take one facet of your life that you want to work on and say, I'm going to do this for 1 week and see how it goes. Okay. Usually it's like adding something to our health, to our diet, removing something that's bringing us down, raising the bar for our mind, for our body, for our spirit. Sometimes people are chanting a little bit more or reading every day. That was Kaustubha's. He was reading Bhagavad Gita chapter once a day.
Still doing it. Loving it. Oh yeah, it's a game changer. Chapter a day.
Well, you know what that is? That's like on repeat. You know, when you set something reoccurring event on your calendar.
Yeah.
You just set it up. It doesn't even have to stop now. It just goes on until you die.
Yeah, I don't want to stop that one. I want to keep going with that one.
Okay, good. So if you got some good Makeover Mondays, if you're listening live right now, you can write it up on our chat board. We have about 95 people live on Zoom. If you want to join Zoom, you need secret codes. And these secret codes can be unlocked by emailing Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Mara reveals the code after you take a blood oath of chanting 1 round of japa a day. That's 1 round of the Hare Krishna mantra on your beads. Because from such commitments, it opens up lunar channels to the Lord of the lunar dynasty, Lord Krishna. He is you know that, Mara? He's the Lord of the, you didn't know that.
No,
He comes in the lunar
Lord
dynasty.
Of the solar dynasty.
Oh.
Who's the Lord of, huh?
I don't know where I go.
Mara.
We're putting her on the hot seat right off the bat this week.
Yeah, right.
Ram.
Oh.
The Surya Vamsa. Come on.
Sorry.
And Krishna's the lord of the lunar dynasty.
So you got to listen. You got to listen to that stuff on the headphones 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you got to get your headphones on straight. You got to get all those audio cookbooks you listen to. Garam masala, 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of fennel.
So we should announce there's a lot going on Patreon this week. Right?
Yeah, there is.
What's tell us, Mara?
Okay. So we have some new teachers this week. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. for asana class, we have Missy Kabanoff from the Bhakti Center.
Oh, Missy's the coolest.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, I really like Missy. Yeah.
Is she an other? I don't know. Missy?
Yeah, she's another.
Others.
I think you'd know Missy, but
Others are coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Wednesday morning, we have Bob Healy teaching the 6:30 a.m. gentle class.
King
he's
of
got to be
Hearts.
gentle now because he's broke his toe.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah. And then we have Bhakti Recovery Group meeting at noon on Wednesday. No, at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays. Thank you, Nancy Rothman.
And at 2 o'clock, special announcement.
Yeah, Vaisheshika Prabhu is going to give a program, right, Kaustubha?
Yeah, he loved being on the show. He loved the community. He was really impressed with all the people. And so he's going to do something at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. That way Europeans can get involved, Californians can get involved, everyone can get involved. And it's called Tapping into the Fourth Dimension, the Realm of Bliss. This is going to be it sounds wild, but it's
Sounds
really practical.
very UFO-ish, no?
Yeah, well, that was because he wanted you to
Lunar
attend.
channels.
It doesn't have anything to do with lunar channels, I believe. It says, in the session, you'll learn to open the channel to the fourth dimension, the shining region beyond the mind and senses, the original plane of reality.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good little
And
blurb.
it's going to focus on fundamentals of daily practice, Svadhyaya, daily reading, japa, and karma yoga. And you put this together in your life and it starts to transform. So, I'm going to be there for that one. And there's going to be time for questions and everything like that. So I really, if you can free yourself up for 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, Vaisheshika Prabhu will be giving that talk.
Yeah, so that's
Patreon members.
That's Patreon member. You want to become a Patreon member? Super simple. You make a monthly contribution. It helps support the team here. Patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Thank you, everybody who's doing it. It means a lot to us.
There's still more. There's still more, right?
More announcements?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could announce these when the days come, right? But
Okay.
it just gives people an idea of all that's going on.
We
There's
got a thing
4
going on.
asana
We got a thing
classes.
going on here. This isn't just like a fly-by-night where you get a T-shirt and it's over. This is like we're building a whole yoga academy.
Now, what are you doing, Sweet Baby Krishna, this week, Raghunath?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into the sweet nectar honey pot right now, the Srimad Bhagavatam.
All right.
No, we start with these mantras, these magical mantras. Narayanam namaskritya, naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamrandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam, providing real-world tools for transforming your daily life. We're working on that. All right, so we are in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Second canto.
Yeah.
Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Text.
This is where you usually.
Where I usually collapse.
Yeah.
Okay, you tell me.
Text number 19.
19, okay. There
Yeah.
we go. Text 19. He is the super soul and the supreme lord of all realized souls. He is the perfection of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute be pleased with me. Text 20. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipful Lord of all the bhaktas, of all the devotees, the protector and the glory of all the kings like Andaka and Vrishni and Yadu dynasty. So these are all classic ancient family dynasties that were present. The husband of the goddess of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, and the proprietor of all planets. It's a nice way to put it. Krishna is the proprietor of this planet. He's the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material. Not just the spiritual planets, he's the proprietor of the material planets. And the supreme incarnation on earth. Be merciful upon me.
Yeah. So let's look at these two verses, shall we, Raghu?
Please. So
again, we have Shukadev Goswami, who's been asked to speak further by Maharaj Parikshit. But before speaking further, he's going into like a meditation, you could say. It's a meditation and it's a prayer. He's bringing his mind to God, right? And last week we read about how Krishna is the Rishikesha. He's the Lord of the senses. My ability to speak is ultimately facilitated by him. You know, if you go back far enough, ultimately he's granting that. And so these prayers are both a way of it's a way of not only like saying, I've been asked to speak on your behalf. If you wish, please grant me the ability to do that well. But it's just also a way of like purifying the mind and purifying the intelligence, right? Like we always talk about, you know, we let so much junk food into our mind, you know, through what we watch and what we hear. So now I want to speak and I want to speak well. I want to speak truth, spiritual truth. So let me bring my mind to God.
Well, Kaustubha, can I share something embarrassing?
Yes. We always like to hear embarrassing stuff.
May I share embarrassing things about myself, Mara?
Well, you could speak the whole show about embarrassing things. It could probably be entertaining.
Will it make you feel better about yourself?
It would.
You know, when I was new into Bhakti, and you know, every morning when you live in the ashram, they give a Srimad Bhagavatam class, and before the class, they did this whole Om Jnana Tamarandasya. It's called the Mangala Charanam. We do it. Om Jnana Tamarandasya, and the prayers to all the gurus, and it's this whole list of prayers, a whole list of them, and you know, and it takes time every day, and you know, me being the you know, I'm very punctual. I like things always. I like to get right to it here. You know, especially in the beginning, I was always like, okay, guys, can we speed this up? Can we just cut this out? Why every day do we have to do this whole long? Let's just talk about some practical, relevant subject matter. So this is the answer here. We don't just blurt out. We're not the fools rushing in. There's time to read and hear and imbibe. Then before we start blurting, there's first appreciations. Before I speak, there's appreciations. Why? There's appreciation to the person I got this from in the first place. That's huge. I want to appreciate that person. I want to appreciate and that not that it just came from that person, but it's been trickling down through people and somehow landing on my lap in the middle of upstate New York or wherever I am. It's just landed here. How fortunate I am. And then you appreciate God, who we're glorifying ultimately. And then by that appreciation, this is what I was talking about, opening up the fourth dimension of the lunar nadi, Mara.
Yes.
Maybe not the lunar nadi, that's a nostril. But the idea is like, when you're in that mood of humility and appreciation, and none of this is coming from my great intelligence, but it's actually coming from when you're in that mood of appreciation, then you get the spiritual download.
Spiritual download.
You like that? Spiritual download.
And
And you get the spiritual download, and it comes to you. You don't have to work hard to say something clever, prepare your intelligent answers. You get a spiritual download because you're open to receive it. and it comes from that appreciation of God and Guru. God, Guru, and Garanga.
Well, Gauranga is God. But I think you've identified a theme here, Raghunath.
It's a theme.
Yeah, and because if we take note here, it's an interesting verse, this verse number 20. It's beautiful poetry too. We're not even, there's a whole level that we're not even we're not even dealing with here, right? But here's verse 20. Shriya Patir, Yagna Pati, Prajapatir, Diyapatir, Lokapatir, Dharapati, Patir Gatis, Chandaka Vrishni Sattvatam, Prasaditatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So this word pati was repeated 7 or 8 times in this verse. Right?
What's that called in poetry? Alliteration?
Yeah, alliteration is like a repetition of sound. So it's definitely alliteration, but it's also the repetition of a word too, like the same word again and again. But pati means like, it could, it means the head or the Lord or like the controller of, like that. Yeah. So he's going through each one. Each one, he's the head of this, he's the head of that. He's the worshipful Lord of all devotees, he's the protector and the glory of all the kings of these different dynasties. He's the husband. Pati also means husband, So he's the husband of the goddess of fortune. He's the director of all sacrifices and therefore the leader of all living entities. Now this is where I think the theme is that you just hit on, Raghunath. He's the controller of all intelligence, right?
Pretty interesting, huh?
To think of it that like we move around this world under such illusion that like we do stuff based on our own power. But if we're a little bit thoughtful, and this is the way that the yogi thinks, this is the way the philosopher, let me step back and think about this for a minute, right? What am I capable of doing on my own? Or what am I empowered to do? And so the devotee's thinking that like, even, to lift this pen right now, I desire it, but somehow I'm granted the facility. And at some point that facility may be taken away from me, but right now I have it. And intelligence is like that too. I think last week we were speaking about sometimes, we'll say, oh, I wish I would have thought of that.
Right.
I wish I would have said this. I wish I wouldn't have said that. But intelligence is, the ability to discriminate clearly, and understand something clearly. It may be given to us at one point and taken away from us at another point. And so here, Shukadeva Goswami, he's about to speak, and he starts to glorify the Diyapatir, the Lord of intelligence, that Krishna is the Lord of intelligence. So, he gives me the power of speech. He gives me the power of intelligence. And this idea, how we use that, how intelligence is granted to us and how we use it is really central to understanding yoga. It's
amazing, isn't it?
It
go in there with that bravado and that ego, then it seals up. It all seals up. Then you're left with your karma, which is right. You might be pretty intelligent, you might be not that intelligent, but whatever it is, it's your material intelligence.
Yeah.
Go on, please.
That intelligence, and let's be clear. It doesn't necessarily mean, like, I think when we use the word intelligence, we generally think of like someone that's vastly learned and can impress us with the ability to calculate things quickly or whatever. But it can also mean just like the ability to distinguish, what's real, what's not real, what's worthy of my time and energy, and what's not worthy of my time and energy.
Right.
My wife Gita Priya, she'll say like, oh, it's a lot of this philosophy is just like too much for me. It's like, but so like different people have different, her intelligence is working in another way, but like that spiritual intelligence, like I find her to be like super intelligent, just like when it comes to like understanding like really what is valuable in life and what is not valuable in life. What not. Yeah.
As opposed to knowledge.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like you can go to a private school, get like tons of formal education. But the wisdom, like Mara's got both. She went to private school,
and she's
very wise.
She's got knowledge and wisdom. Both.
No, she's got both.
Yeah, but that ability, Because you see, when in the yogic circles, it takes the chitta, which we might call the mind, and it divides it into three. Part of it is the ahankara, which is the conception of who I am. There's the manas, which is programmed to respond favorably or unfavorably, to be attracted or repulsed by whatever comes through the senses. And most of us are ruled by that. Whatever the senses, whatever the mind's been programmed to find appealing, we chase after it.
Here,
Right.
Kaustubha, here's a good example here too with how intelligent, because we're not just talking about like you are a math prodigy as far as intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is different. You can still be a math prodigy, but in your mind, you can be completely angry, a narcissist. You want revenge on people. So in that case, from that vantage point, how intelligent are you?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you're covered with anger all the time. You're wearing a blanket of anger and fear and resentment and anxiety constantly. There's a different type of intelligence here.
It means you're not seeing the truth if you're in that state of mind. It means you're not aware.
No matter how intellectual a person is or how high their IQ is.
Yeah. And then the question is, so I was saying most of us are ruled by the manas, which is the senses, are the mind's programmed to find certain sense data appealing. This shape is appealing, that shape isn't, right?
Sense data. I like that.
Yeah. And so then the mind's been programmed to respond to, this is favorable, this will bring me happiness, this won't. And then blindly, as a slave, practically we follow that. But then there's this other part of the chitta, other part of the mind called the buddhi.
The buddhi.
Right? The ability to discriminate, to reason, to discern. And for a yogi, so much of our success in following the path and walking the path will be the development and the application of that buddhi, of our ability to discriminate. We sharpen it, we hone it through hearing Bhagavatam, through hearing Bhagavad Gita, and or just like you're saying, Ramayana, Mahabharata, listening to this all the time. It sharpens that and clarifies that. It purifies that. Otherwise, we engage that same ability to discriminate. Even that becomes enslaved to the manas. And so all of your, even if you've got like this powerful brain that's able to calculate efficiently and quickly and so on, it becomes enslaved by the manas, and it just becomes used to serve the mind and senses.
Right.
So that intelligence, intelligence can be engaged in, if this world in our experience here is in a sense like a prison. We're somewhat entrapped, we're somewhat enslaved, like we're in a prison. That intelligence can be engaged in trying to enjoy the prison, right? And that's the buddhi enslaved by overpowered by the manas. Or it can be engaged in its own reformation, right? Because you exit the prison through reformation.
It's interesting. No one wants to admit it's a prison.
No
one wants to admit, no, it's good. It's great. The prison's great. I can work out in the prison. They got a weight set. We play basketball in prison. It's a prison. It almost kills us to admit that this material world is like a prison. But that's a sign of intelligence. You start realizing, one, your temporality. Yeah. Two, that the senses have their limitations. Three, that we're constantly in illusion, making poor choices. What else we got? With why this is a prison?
Well, I just remember you're bringing this up reminded me of your conversation with Joe Rogan, who just like in a sincere way said, yeah, but it seems like life is pretty good to me. Right?
It's so funny when he said that. I was like, yeah, you're a millionaire. Whatever you want. You're living, your studio has like, 3, incredible cars parked in it. You have an archery range within your podcast studio, a weight room, jiu-jitsu mats. Of course life is good for you.
Yeah. But I don't know if you said it then or whatever, but it's like, but that's you're riding the high wave right now.
Right. It was hard to say. I was like, because you are incredibly materially blessed right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people are suffering tremendously. It's hard. And that is the downside of good karma.
Right.
We don't want good. We're not interested in bhakti. It's interesting because a lot of within what's Hinduism, they want good karma. They want blessings, even the blessings from the guru, they want for good karma, you know?
Yeah.
But
Right.
what we want is bhakti. It's a taller order. We want transcendence. We're not even asking for good
Yeah.
karma.
And one of the attitude adjustments that we got from Vaisheshika Prabhu yesterday on the interview
Yeah.
was this: I live to be corrected.
Ooh.
Right. Now, I live to be, and
I
again,
avoid correction at all costs. That's what I noticed. As soon as he said that,
no,
I said,
you don't.
please
You're
don't
good.
correct me now. Please don't correct me.
And Raghunath, I have a few corrections for you right now. Do you live for it? Are you ready?
Say it again, and then I'm going to correct you. If you missed the show yesterday, our guest said, repeat after me, close your eyes. I live to be corrected. And for some of us saying that was like painful. Like, oh, that's the actual one thing that, like, when people correct me, I crumble like a witch getting water thrown on her. No, don't correct me. Truthfully, if you correct somebody,
Yeah.
you can just wreck them.
You can make an enemy right there.
You make it on the spot, an enemy.
Yeah.
Even if you have great intentions,
Right.
even if you say it in a very humble way. I make it a point. I try my best not to correct anyone unless they ask for correction.
Okay.
It's called minding my own business. And you know what else I hate? I hate when people mind my business.
Really?
Unless
I thought you lived to be corrected.
I don't. You made us say that. You made us say that. No, but the thing is, I do allow people like yourself, there's certain people in my life that I encourage them. Hey, please correct me. Please correct me. And I can hear it. When other people correct me, that maybe I don't even know or don't, I might hear it, but I might also feel like, well, what's this person? This person, I don't know. Maybe I have to surrender to his mantra, but I want other people to correct me, but I want to know what their motives are. I trust you and your motives and your correction.
I trust you, Raghunath.
But anyway, I didn't get off that point. Can you go back to
but well, and even when we say like I live to be corrected, like I think we can expand that to mean not just like someone verbally saying you were wrong, this is right, but like to be made correct, right? Like that our conceptions become correct, that our lifestyle becomes correct, that it become correct, or like we were using the prison analogy, to become reformed, right? That there's something in us that needs to be reformed, and that is really the purpose of the world and our experience in this world. Is that it's really a process of reformation. So it's a process of correction. And therefore every experience can become a lesson or assist us in that. That's the way that the yogis can see the world and reform themselves. So again, our intelligence, it can be engaged and try to enjoy the prison, right? How can I best find material enjoyment? How can I make money? How can I find this? How can I find that? Or it can be engaged in like, how do I release myself from the prison? How do I become reformed and walk out the door?
Early parole.
Early parole.
Right. Let's keep going with this prison analogy. Early parole. Access to the library.
Well, access to the library is like, that's maybe like how to enjoy the prison, right? Like I want to find better facility within the prison.
Okay, yeah, right. That was more like karma kanda. Or more of heavenly planets.
Yeah,
how do I actually get out? Early parole.
Right. But so what's being taught in the Bhagavad Gita? There's a term used. The second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is using this term Bhakti-yogi again and again. The Bhakti-yogi means that the buddhi, the intellect, that part of the chitta that is the power to discriminate or discern, to judge, to make clear reasoning, as opposed to just programming, I like this or I don't like that. The yogis honing that and developing that so that they see the whole world through the filter of that buddhi. Two people see the same thing, but have a very different intellectual experience in relation to it, right? Two people see a pile of money, right? One person is thinking, okay, can I get it? How can I engage it? What will I do with it? I'm going to enjoy from it. Let me engage my intellectual capacity in determining how that pile of money can become a source for my greater material enjoyment. And that's how their intellect becomes engaged. And another person looks at the same thing and may see it in a very different way, right? May be reflective, to the consequences,
Sure.
how could I engage this in such a way that will lead towards my liberation and not towards my bondage? Should I avoid it? Should I engage it? Whatever it may be. But two people will, so this Buddha yoga is the ability to move through life, and whatever comes through our senses is being filtered through the intellect that's been honed by hearing from guru and sacred text, and all that. But there's a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the 4 nutshell verses that brings up this term again, right? And that's Tesham
Yami
Sat.
Buddhi Yogam Tam
There you
Yenamam
go.
Upayanti Te.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Tesham Satata Yuktanam. To that
That was
person.
not prepared. We didn't prepare this before class. I just got that.
Wow. Tesham Satata Yuktanam. Satata Yuktanam. Always connected, right? Always engaged. Always connect. Yukta. That's that word that yoga comes from.
Yoga word.
Yeah. Or yoke. The word yoke. To connect two things. Tesham Satata Yuktanam. To that person that's always connected to me. Krishna is saying, Bhajatam, and they're worshiping, right? They're Priti Purvakam. You know what the word priti means?
Loving.
Yeah, with love, in a mood of love. For that person that's always connected and in that loving way, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Dadami means I give them, right? This is the point, right? That intellect, that intelligence, that spiritual intelligence, that ability to discriminate with clear spiritual understanding is the Dhammi. It's something that's given to us. It's not ours, but it's granted to us. So Sukadeva Goswami is sitting there and he's saying, I've been asked to speak to this king who's about to die. He's very sincerely coming to me and asking for guidance. All these other sages are gathered around. They're looking to me to try to share something valuable. He goes into his meditation and he wants to say Satata Yuktanam. He wants to be connected. He wants to be, he wants that intelligence. He's with humility. That intelligence isn't my own. It's something that's granted, So he's saying in this verse that Krishna, you are the Dhyam-pati. You are the Lord of intelligence. So if you like, please grant me that ability, and I'll speak on your behalf. And there's some nice stuff that we can read from the commentary here. You want me to dip in?
Yeah.
Should I dip?
I have to give a shout out to Joe Adamo right here.
Okay, Joe. Yeah. He's
got these parents, the crap they have to go through is tough. The tough they have to go. They get Joe Adamo. He's trying to listen to the Bhagavatam. He's got to take care of a baby.
Yeah.
It's so hard taking care of little babies. It's so hard. And he's taking care of that baby. He just wants to hear the Bhagavatam, and the baby's going to start fussing around soon. This baby actually just sits and dances. But I will say, just being there with the baby, he's trying to just surrender and hear the Bhagavatam, even though he's got so many duties to go. This type of complete dedication. This is what opens up that that tunnel to the 4th dimension. And I appreciate you, Joe. And you know what? Your sincere desire to hear transcendental information is not just benefiting you. This is like Maharaj Prickett right here. He is hearing transcendental sound, or she. She's hearing transcendental sound while you hear this transcendental sound, and it rubs off on the kids. It rubs off on everybody. It's amazing.
The transrational.
Shout out to the parents.
Okay.
Shout out to the cats out there. There's a lot of cats on the show and dogs. But anyone hearing this message and your desire to hear it is powerful, because we got to jump through a lot of hoops to hear the Bhagavatam, and Krishna understands that. That's the interesting thing. Krishna is an intelligent force, and he's understanding the hoops you must jump through just to get into the seat right now where you're listening, and that is part of opening up the channel to Krishna. Because what is love? Love is an action. You got everybody listening on Zoom is taking an action right now, and that action requires you gotta adjust this, you gotta wait this, you gotta make a pot of tea, whatever it is, just to get ready to hear. That action is a type of love. Krishna appreciates this love, because Stu was telling about this verse about this loving devotion is Tejam Satata Yuktanam, as they surrender to me. Tejam Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pradipurvakam. Kaustubha?
Yeah. What about it now?
Tell me that verse. Tejam
Tesham
Satata.
Satata Yuktanam. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me.
Those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love. So these actions that a lot of you guys are just taking right now, this is the means to get that. It gives them the directions by which they can come to me. How do you get it? Is it in the book? It's actually not in the book. It gets direct through revelation. The book is just sort of being used, right? And Krishna is actually inspiring within the heart. It's not, you can't just go in the ashram and like, now I have knowledge. I become a monk, now I have knowledge. I put on the robe, now I got knowledge. It's the acts you guys are taking to get there, that sincere endeavor. Krishna seeing that sincere endeavor, then he's giving the spiritual download.
Well, that's actually the next verse, right? 10:11. Tesham evanukam partam aham agyana jamtama nasayam yatma bhavashto gyana dipena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts. You just said that, Raghunath.
This is great.
Destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
Kaustubha is reading from these 4 verses in the Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, starting at 10:08. Right? 10:08. Interesting that it's 10:08, isn't it?
Well, 10:08. Yeah, sure. 10:08.
10:08. 10,
you can say, you don't need to put
10:08.
that digit. Yeah, 10:08.
10:08, 10:09, 10:10, and 10:11. The 4 nutshell
verses of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So we're now he's saying you're the Dhyam-pati, you're the Lord of Intelligence. Let's read it. Prabhupada, it's a long commentary, and he goes through all these different patis that are mentioned in this verse. But here's what Prabhupada says about Krishna being the Lord of Intelligence in the commentary to text 20. He says, living beings are proportionately endowed with intelligence in terms of their previous activities. Oh, that's interesting, right? In other words, our ability to discriminate is a karmic result of how we've lived in the past. Yeah. All living beings are not equally endowed with the same quality of intelligence, because behind such development of intelligence is the control of the Lord, as declared in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Mera. Monday is like, she's like, this is a brutal Monday.
It is.
Yeah. Raghunath?
Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana.
No,
That's
15:7.
Okay. Oh, I know this. This is from me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and intelligence.
Yeah. You just forgot it now, but that's good enough. Yeah, you got it. So he says, as the Paramatma, super soul, the Lord is in everyone's heart, and from him only does one's power of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness follow. Mata, from me, smritir, remembrance, jnanam, knowledge, apohanam, forgetfulness, cha. From me they all come. One person can sharply remember past activities by the grace of the Lord, while others cannot. One is highly intelligent by the grace of the Lord, and one is a fool by the same control. Therefore, the Lord is Dhyam-pati, or the Lord of Intelligence. Now, the conditioned souls strive to become lords of the material world. In other words, they engage your intelligence, right? This is engaging the intelligence. You're in the prison, and rather than engaging your intelligence as, how do I become reformed and get out? You're thinking, how can I make the prison experience better?
You know,
The prison is a place of suffering. It's designed that way, right?
This reminds me, the intelligence, so that we pray to Saraswati, but Saraswati is directly connected to Krishna. Mm-hmm. Krishna uses Saraswati to govern the intelligence. Yeah. And therefore, do you know the story of Kumbhakarna? He was Ravana's brother, and he was doing all these types of austerity to become incredibly powerful, assist Ravana, and so many austerities. And then Brahma was going to give him this blessing, whatever he wanted, whatever Kumbhakarna, and all the demigods were so fearful because this guy's done so much tapas. He's like the master yogi. Brahma's going to give him whatever he wants. And then it was Lord Vishnu made a deal with Saraswati. Okay, don't even go into his mind, like leave his mind. So he lost his intelligence right when he said you could have whatever you want. And he could not remember what to ask for. And he blurted out something stupid. And he said, let me sleep for 365 days a year. And Brahma was like, okay, so be it. And so he was tricked by Lord Vishnu and Saraswati. And we've been in situations too where we know the answer to something, but we just can't say it. What did I say? Or you're supposed to do something at the right time. Your mind just frees up, and Saraswati has left your mind. But ultimately, Krishna is the director of all the demigods.
Right.
Yeah.
So ultimately, he's the cause of the cause behind Saraswati's. I was, you know what? Just as you're saying that, I was thinking, because we're speaking about Joe Rogan, maybe it came up in my mind. But I remember you saying like you were nervous before you went on it. Right? Will I be able to say the right thing?
Yeah. And you know what?
Saraswati blessed you.
No, yeah. Well, you know what happened was I told you I never get nervous for things, pretty much. I was being on stage since I was a kid, but and I played for very big shows, and sometimes I don't get nervous. And
what was your biggest show?
We played for 300,000 people once.
Whoa, 300,000. That's big.
It's big.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't get that nervous. I got so nervous. Well, one thing was if I'm playing a show, all those people know my music. And even if they don't know my music, they're there to hear music. Or if I'm doing even a big, I've done like yoga classes for 700 people, but they're here to know yoga. And I know I'm pretty good at yoga. But Joe Rogan had such a mixed bag of people listening to that show. You get Republicans, you get Democrats, you get country bumpkins, you get city folks, you get, conspiracy theorists. It's hard to figure out where to go. And Joe's also very smart. So I was like, is he going to try to like do some verbal jujitsu on me and flip me on my back? And I'm not the brightest, sharpest tool in the shed. So there was a lot of nerve, and it's only in front of millions of people, So
if you're ever going to look like a fool,
I'm going to look at a fool. It's one thing to trip down the street when no one's walking. It's another thing to fall down a flight of stairs at a stadium. So anyway, my wife was very sober, and she said, listen, what would Raghunath Swami do if he was about to give a class? And I'd say, well, he'd start to appreciate all of his teachers. Exactly what we're saying in the show.
Yeah. We
start to go through these Mangala Chartam, these auspicious prayers to teachers and God, and appreciate people. And then she said, yeah, and he'd appreciate the people he was speaking with. So why don't you take some time and appreciate Joe, and in your Mangala Chartam, also appreciate what he's done. So once I put my head in that space, I think that created the space to be not only very comfortable, but
empowered.
I think, and that's why we do this. That's why we have this appreciation to Guru and God and other people, is because it changes our intelligence. Like, I'm going to get there and verbally show him what's what. But we allow Krishna to use our bodies to speak through our bodies. And I think that's what we all want as yoga teachers, as parents, as friends, as lovers, is when we're like giving some kind of either talking or instructing and stuff like that, I don't want to leave it up to my intelligence. I mean, even if we have good intelligence, we could say it can lock up. Kumbhakarna is locked up, and he asked for something stupid like, I want to sleep 365 days a year.
That story reminded me of when you brought up Saraswati. I thought you were going somewhere else. You know what story I was thinking of?
No.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, who was blessed by Saraswati.
Oh yeah. Keshava
Kashmiri, right? Yeah, that there was this when Sri Chaitanya was a young man, and this is
such a good story.
Yeah. But he was, and of course, in our lineage, we accept Sri Chaitanya as an avatar. That this is Krishna himself, come in this form at that age. I think he's a teenager, young Brahmana teacher. He's got his students. He's
like a child prodigy. He's like,
he's incredibly brilliant, and so he's teaching his students on the bank of the Ganges, and along comes Keshava Kashmiri, who was like, it seems like in that age, which is 500 years ago in India, to be a great debater, to be a great intellect, was just like the most respected thing you could be. You're like a rock star, you know? So he's passing, and they would actually travel where Sri Chaitanya lived in Navadvip. That was considered one of the intellectual hubs. Yeah, it's like Harvard or something like that, but even more so, you know, it's a place where great intellectuals go to be trained and so on. So he was passing through that place, and what these debaters, or, you know, these philosophers, these intellectuals would do is they would actually travel from place to place. They would be called he was called it, I think it's Digvijay, the Digvijay, which means he's conquered in all the different directions, right? He'll go and he'll defeat people with his intellect. And even there, like, you would get signed papers, like, you know,
You have to sign over like he defeated me. It's
okay,
like
he defeated me.
humiliating. Yep, you're smarter than me.
and so he was famous, and he was like number one. And so Keshava Kashmiri, he met Sri Chaitanya there on the bank of the river as he's giving his class to his students. And Sri Chaitanya says, it's such an honor to have you here. You know, Digvijay, you know, conquer all directions.
He went after Lord Chaitanya. He's like, I'm going to defeat this little kid.
No, I think even at that point he wasn't. I think what happened was
Let me just embellish it and make it more crazy.
Well, no. So Sri Chaitanya
he was really angry. He was upset. He was throwing things around the room.
Well, there was a point. So Sri Chaitanya said, it's such a blessing to have you here with us right now. Could you do us the honor, the favor? We're sitting here by the bank of the Ganges River. Could you share a few verses in glorification of the Ganges for us? Because you're such a brilliant philosopher and poet and so on.
So he wasn't challenging. So usually when two intelligent people, it's like an alpha males butt heads. Oh yeah, you got this? I got this. Oh yeah, you got that? I got this. And then Lord Chaitanya said, you're so smart. You're so respected. You're so loved. And we're here at the Ganges. Please say a prayer about Mother Ganga.
Now, what he did was mind-blowing. On the spot, he instantly, spontaneously composed 100 verses, 100 beautiful, philosophical, poetic verses glorifying the Ganges, right on the spot. It was like a feat.
Intelligence.
Yeah, it was just like, and because he was a worshiper of Saraswati, and he was being blessed by the goddess of learning to be able to speak the way that he would speak. He didn't see it as his own power. He saw that he was receiving the blessings of Saraswati. So he reeled off 100 incredible verses. And then Sri Chaitanya said it like in a respectful tone. This was amazing. With the speed of the wind, your mind is just working and you compose. Please tell us more about the beautiful ornaments in your composition, as well as the faults in your composition.
Yeah, he's like, I always tell the story like, that was almost perfect. Like, just sort of like, well, what do you mean? He like immediately like with a scalpel picking at his ego. Like, what do you mean that was perfect? Well, there was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, there were a couple wrong.
Yeah. So he said there was no fault in this. You know, you show me what fault was there in my composition. And then Sri Chaitanya showed 3 faults. I don't remember them all. But they
just
were
imagine, right? Someone going, text 47, when you said you said Vishnu flows from the feet of the Ganga instead of the Ganga flowing from the feet of Vishnu. And then in text 98, it was like there was a wrong alliteration there. It didn't flow right. And then text 4, that was actually problematic as well. Like, he heard them, he picked out the faults and he corrected them, showing that basically, you think you're pretty smart? I'm really smart here.
Yeah, I remember one of them was he referred in one verse. He spoke of the husband of Bhavani. So Bhavani means the wife of Lord Shiva. So he was meaning to indicate Lord Shiva, but it's an awkward way to phrase it, because if you say the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, then it sounds like she's got another husband, right? So it was just little details like this that he really, and then when he said them, first he's like, how did you manage to I just just immediately came out with 100, and you found these three little details. And she just said, people are blessed in different ways. Like you have this mind that's blessed to compose those verses. And he said, what's the term again? A shrutidara. Some people are blessed with the ability to remember whatever they hear.
That's a great word, shrutidar. Yeah. Whatever you hear, you retain.
Yeah, you hold it. You hold it.
People like this?
Some people are really good.
Oh, they read it and they're like, what did you just read? And they tell you exactly back, well, I read this and this and this. And
yeah.
If I read something, I immediately forget it.
Immediately. Someone tells me their name, it's already gone.
What's your name? My name's Lewis. Okay. What did you say your name was? It's like in an ear, out an ear. If I read something immediately, say, hey, Raghu, what did you read? I was like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You just read it. I don't know.
Even as you're reading, sometimes the same sentence, you have to read it again and again because you're
over and over. And that's why now I just listen.
Okay. So now what happened was when Sri Chaitanya, who again, he's like this teenager, and this guy's the Digvijay conqueror,
He's like world famous.
World famous. So then, but he was actually, he did have humility. And so he said, how were you able to pick all that up, And then he went home when he went home that evening, he prayed to Saraswati. Why have you forsaken me? You've always blessed me in the past. Have I done something wrong? Why have I been blessed with this intelligence? And in this moment, it was taken away from me. I don't understand. And then he had a dream that night. And Saraswati came to him and spoke to him and said, this is no ordinary teacher that you just ran into. This is Sri Krishna himself, And then Keshava Kashmiri became a devotee of Sri Chaitanya. But it is a way of illustrating how we didn't create intelligence. It's a subtle material element. We didn't create it. It's not ours. It can be granted or taken away. And so Prabhupada continues in this commentary. He says, the conditioned souls strive to become lords of the material world. Everyone is trying to lord it over the material nature by applying his highest degree of intelligence. This misuse of intelligence by the conditioned soul is called madness. You're trying to enjoy the prison. Get out of the prison. One's full intelligence should be applied to get free from the material clutches. But the conditioned soul, due to madness, only engages his full energy and intelligence in sense gratification. And to achieve this end of life, he willfully commits all sorts of misdeeds. The result is that instead of attaining an unconditioned life of full freedom, the mad conditioned soul is entangled again and again in different types of bondage in material bodies. Everything we see in the material manifestation is but the creation of the Lord. We didn't create it, right? Therefore, he is the real proprietor of everything in the universes. The conditioned soul can enjoy a fragment of this material creation under the control of the Lord, but not self-sufficiently. That is the instruction of Ishopanishad. One should be satisfied with things awarded by the Lord of the universe. It is out of madness only that one tries to encroach upon another's share of material possessions. So we don't create anything. We're granted whatever we get, including our intelligence. And if we are intelligence, we realize, I have what I need. Let me not engage this intelligence in trying to acquire more and more and more, which thinking that it'll make me happy. Let me use that intelligence to develop a deeper kind of insight into the nature of my trap and in how to transcend it, how to move beyond it.
Quick way to get the intelligence to go away, to keep. If you're very spiritually intelligent, you want to get rid of your spiritual intelligence quick.
Yeah.
Make offenses to people. Make offenses to people practicing bhakti. Then all of a sudden, your intelligence will get dragged away, and that same intelligence you have will now be used for intelligence towards material things.
Humility opens it up.
Right? Yeah, and it will start giving you good reasons why. No, actually, my material pursuits are much better. Actually, this makes it. Maya will cover that intelligence so quick that will even come up with good reasons to be in Maya. It's
right.
Just amazing, isn't it?
The most intelligent people can come up with, and when I say intelligence in this sense, I mean like the people with the powerful brains and learning, they can come up with the most absurd and ridiculous, childish theories, and what to speak of behavior,
Oh, they'll justify insane behavior, and they'll use their intelligence to back it up. That is misused intelligence.
There you go. Okay, you're gonna get the dance cam going, Rode, or Mara?
Gonna go super fast today. Oh, happy Monday, everybody. Oh, what a beautiful people here today. It's true. Vishesha Kaprabhu is true. Beautiful people on the show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Monday. Great way to start your Monday.
Wankagy.
Yeah, we have this new thing called the dance cam, where Mara goes around, singles out people, makes sure they're dancing.